What's up, sports bettors? Early in the morning, already got a bunch of bets for you, such as Syracuse plus 11 for 5,000 bucks. I know a lot of people just want the picks, but I also try to weave in the strategy because, great lines, they don't last forever. So some of the plays I give out on Underdog Fantasy, people complain. They're like, "Oh, this line moved." And the thing is like great lines move, right? Great lines don't last forever, especially if a lot of people are betting them. So I try to weave in the strategy to, kind of show you how you can become a better sports bettor as well, even if you're not taking picks directly from me. So hopefully, the picks that I give out that you're able to tail are winners. And then also hopefully, this video helps you become a better sports bettor. So I say this all the time, but when you're playing on prize picks in Underdog Fantasy, you need to know how many legs to select, right? So on prize picks, the way this platform works, if we go to it, is any 3-pick entry, you can see right here, you're betting 20 to win 100. So we've gone through the math in a bunch of other videos, and essentially what that means is you're getting minus 141 odds. When you are comparing that line to a sports book, right? Prize Picks is not a sports book. It's technically like Underdog Fantasy, a fantasy site. It's a parlay-only sports book, right? They do parlays only. There's no odds on this site, but you can work out the math of how you can, compare the lines on Prize Picks and Underdog to those on the sports books. And essentially what you'll notice is on Prize Picks, you want to be going with 5 or 6 pick flex plays because the implied odds are roughly minus 119, which is much better than, a 3-pick power play. 3-pick power plays are horrible. Minus 141. You're getting half of that juice. You're getting half of that vig that the sportsbook is baking into their market if you're playing 5 or 6-pick power plays. Or flex plays, I apologize. Now, on the other hand, on Underdog, you want to go with 3 picks. The implied odds are minus 122. So you got to know that. All my plays, you'll notice, on Underdog Fantasy, they're going to be 3 picks or they're going to be 5 picks. 3 picks or 5 picks, as you can see right here. On Prize Picks, I'm mainly going to be playing, if I just go over to my entries, you're going to see mainly, so this one, I did by accident, I refunded it, so I just canceled it. It's 5 and 6 pick flex plays mainly. So anyways, let's go ahead, let's get into it. The first play I have is the EV tool, right? I love using this EV tool, and the reason is this EV tool, there's no BS. Right? There's no, Dalton Schultz had a bad breakup with his girlfriend, so he's going to go under. There's no BS, right? It's just scanning the lines on Prize Picks, putting minus 119 for a 5 or 6 pick flex. That's what I have selected, Prize Picks, 5 or 6 pick flex. So we know we're getting minus 119 implied odds. And you can see all the sports books have this minus 136 to minus 159. So our odds jam column, that's just the same odds as Pinnacle. Pinnacle's known to be the sharpest sports book in the world. They take the biggest bets. They're the most efficient betting market. They have this minus 159. So we're getting 40 cents of improvement from the sharpest book out there. Bet Online has this minus 154. DraftKings minus 155, right? So you kind of take a look at the market and you look at all the sports books. They're roughly minus 150, let's say on average, 155. And we're getting minus 119 on Prize Picks. So we found value, right? Is this bet a lock? No. No bet is a lock. This is gambling, right? You should never, but is this a play with an edge that will make money for you long term? Yes. And I show this all the time because I want people to be responsible. If you're following the strategy, you're going to make money sports betting, but there's ups and downs. So this is my pinned tweet on Twitter, and you'll see, like it's rocky. Sports betting is flipping coins that are weighted in your favor. That is sharp sports betting. You're finding bets where the odds are in your favor, not the sports books. That is what positive EV betting is, but it doesn't mean the play is guaranteed to win. You'll still go on losing streaks. If a tail or if a coin is 55% to show up on tails, still going to show up on heads 45% of the time, right? Still going to show up on heads 2 times in a row, 3 times in a row, even though tails is more favored, right? So long story short, this EV tool, if you want to know just how to use it, I try to find 5 or 6 picks from it where it's just the bet in bold and circled, right? So Dalton Schultz over 3.5, that's the play with insane value that we want to be on. And this is known as your profit margin or your edge. So this is your profit margin or your edge. So this may not seem like a big deal, like, 4% profit margin, whatever. But it's like you have to remember these returns are daily, right? Like if you look at my bet tracker graph, This is a 3.27% ROI every day. Like when I started betting on sports, broke out of college, that was the ROI I was getting, but it's daily. So 3% a day is 90% a month if you think about it, right? But you have to be betting every day. This isn't passive income. You got to be out there betting every day. But a 4.5% return in a day, think about what that adds up to in a year if you're able to bet every day. That's how you can make money and, really grow your bankroll quickly. So I went with a lot of these plays. Another thing I did is I took Dalton Schultz over 3.5 receptions, and I paired it specifically with Dak Prescott over 19.5 passing completions. So you can assume, there's some positive correlation, right? So, if Dak Prescott has more passing completions, then Dalton Schultz is at least slightly more likely to go over in his receptions. Does that make sense? If not, you can comment below, but it's kind of like, if Kirk Cousins, like I had another example on Prize Picks that I can actually show right here. So let's see if it's still there. So let me go. It may be open still. So we'll go here. So here you can see this entry, of course, lost. But Jefferson and Cousins, I took both overs together. And again, like Justin Jefferson is the main target for Kirk Cousins. He's like a third of the yards. His yards is a third of Kirk Cousins. So if Jefferson goes over, Kirk Cousins is more likely to go over. So what's cool about Prize Picks is what you have to remember is they don't vary your payouts, as you can see, depending on if you select the over or the under. So sometimes you're able to find some spots where you get the added benefit of positive correlation. But that's, a harder topic, but sometimes I want to, recommend to people, like, you can think about that. If there's two players from the Cowboys, and you have Dak passing yards, let's say, and Dalton receiving yards, it's like there's positive correlation. If Dak throws 400 yards, Dalton would be more likely to go over. But in general, what I do is I just take these plays, bet and bold with a circle around it. These are value bets, bets with an edge. And all OddsJam is doing is it's saying, okay, based on your location, so I'm currently in Virginia, but different states have different, sports books. So you can see here are all the sports books in Virginia. Maybe you use all of them. Maybe you only use some of them. I recommend you should use all of them, right? You should use all of them because there's different bets on different platforms. This play, you can see right here. Guess what? There's no Underdog. This play isn't on Underdog. So if you only have Underdog, you can't place this incredible bet with a 4.5% edge or profit margin. I've had over 40 sportsbook accounts for that reason, So this is the first play we want to go with. And again, I kind of consider this to just be like rational sports betting. You're looking at all the data in the market. You're treating every sports book. They all have these complex models. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars into setting lines. They know all information you do. If Dak gets hurt, that's going to be priced into the market immediately. Kind of like if there's a fraud alert at a company, that is priced into the price of the stock very quickly. If Dak gets injured, the sportsbooks know. That is reflected in DraftKings odds. If, CeeDee Lamb is out, the sportsbooks know that Dalton is more likely to go over. Maybe his line gets bumped to 4.5. But what you can see is like what this EV tool does is it lets you compare prices. So how I kind of view it is like, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sports books, 5 data points, all telling me this bet should be roughly minus 155. I'm getting minus 119. Seems like a great deal. That seems like a steal, right? It's kind of like if there were 100 different prices of a stock. Caesars is telling you it's worth 157, the Caesars stock exchange, DraftKings 155, and you can buy it for 119 on Prize Picks. So a lot of these plays, Green under, Mitchell under, assists, rebounds. I'm just following the data. There's nothing complex going on. The data's smarter than you, right? Everything's priced into the market. It's smarter than me, it's smarter than you. And there's definitely, some benefit. Maybe if you have sports knowledge, you can think about this correlation piece a little bit better than I can, like, oh, Dalton going over and Dak going over. But in general, the data is smarter than you. The data reflects the opinions of millions of people. There are millions of people betting on football. The odds reflect that, right? Sportsbooks move around odds due to supply and demand. But anyways, the first plays I went with are right here. They're just EV plays. So let's continue to go through because there's another interesting strategy I wanted to discuss. So the EV tool is the main tool I use to find good bets. And it's because it lets you compare prices, right? This is the exact same bet. It's actually crazy if you think about it. The exact same bet, it's settled in the same way. Dalton over 3.5 receptions, right? Like he has 4 or more receptions, this bet's a win. If he doesn't, it's a loss. It doesn't matter what sportsbook you bet on. But yet they all have different prices. It's very strange. It's like 100 different prices for a stock. It doesn't make sense. Now, what the screen is useful for, as you can see right here, is it's really good for comparing where lines are set at different levels. So I'll go through a couple examples if I can find them, but I try to find spots like this, where it's like, hey, Chris Kreider, his line on Prize Picks is 3. All the sportsbooks have him at 2.5. Granted, the sportsbooks have the over juiced, right? They have the over 2.5 favored. So even though Prize Picks, their line is higher at 3, making us kind of want to take the under, it's like, well, all the sportsbooks have the over 2.5 heavily favored. So I kind of want to skip it. But what you'll notice right here is that looks pretty great. Barzell. Prize Picks has him at 2. Underdog Fantasy, their direct competitor, has him at 2.5. That's a big jump, right? We're not talking about an NFL total 49 versus 49.5. 2 versus 2.5 is a huge deal. Barzell ends with 2 shots on goal, probably in like 25% of his games. In which case, if we take his over, we're winning or we're pushing on Prize Picks. We're losing on Underdog or all the sports books. So what makes me like this play more? Well, it's like, well, their direct competitors at 2.5. All the sports books are at 2.5. And some of the sports books even have the over 2.5 shots on goal favored. Like you can see right here, 888 Sport, Barstool, Bet Rivers, they all have the over 2.5 shots on goal favored. And we're getting over 2 at minus 119, right? We're not getting minus 137. We're getting better than that, you know? Like if you see here, minus 137 for a 2-leg power play, which is why you'll see that as well on OddsJam. Minus 137, minus 119. But if you're playing in 5 or 6 pick flex plays, you're getting much better prices. So we're getting minus 119 on the over 2. All the books have them at 2.5. Some books even have the over 2.5 favored. Seems pretty good. And we're using all this data, this real-time market data, right? Sportsbooks have their super sophisticated models. They're moving around lines to balance bets on both sides. And what we're doing is we're day trading the sports books. You got to move quick. Great lines don't last forever. You got to move quick. But we are day trading the sports books when they slip up, you know? So like we don't need a million bets on Prize Picks. I say this all the time, but between Prize Picks and Underdog Fantasy, it's like there's probably 25,000 odds. Is all we're looking for is 5 on Prize Picks or 6 and 3 on Underdog Fantasy. You don't need a bet on every game. You want to follow the value. So that looks like a really good spot, right? Some books have the over 2.5 favored. We're getting over 2. I hit it, right? That's one of the plays I went with. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll show my slips on Prize Picks. Then we can get to Underdog Fantasy. And again, you want to have both. So I went with Dak over 19.5, Dalton over 3.5, Logan under 2.5 shots on goal, Kevin Fiala under 3 shots on goal, Johnny Gaudreau under 3 shots on goal. I don't watch hockey, don't know anything about it. Mint money off hockey. Just following the data, right? And we definitely get some positive correlation here. So this seems like a pretty good one. And then here's a second play I went with. You saw these on the EV tool. We just went through that Barzell example. 2 more from the screen, and then some EV plays. So here we have a 6-pick flex. Now you may be like, oh, your bet sizes are weird, and I'll show you why. So if we actually go here, I can kind of show you. If we go to, we ended up taking Green under 3.5 assists as an example. This is just an example. And then we wanted Dalton over 3.5 receptions. So if I tried to put $200 on this, you're going to see right here, it's like max winnings on a single pick is $1,000. So Prize Picks has me limited, right? Which is why nobody wants to bet on sports full time. It's a job for, like, you don't really. I mean, you would make more money in the financial industry. If you love sports betting, I love sports betting. I love to bet on sports, which is why I work in this industry, right? Makes sense. But like, you know, these bookmakers can cut you off at any time. So like when people are like, oh, I'm a professional sports bettor, it's like, dude, you're a joke. Like, that's not like necessarily the most attractive thing to say. because these betting limits sometimes are just like, like it's cool. You can make money off it, but it's, some people brag about it and it's like, dude, there's nothing to brag about. So finally, on Underdog, I want to go through a pretty interesting play. I ended up taking right here, you'll see it, Kirill to not score a goal. So Kirill Kaprizov to not score a goal on Underdog Fantasy. And here's why. So you're going to notice the sports books have him like plus 120 to score. But most of these sports books, they don't offer a line on him not to score. I mean, CoolBet does. They have it minus 156. And again, you got to remember, we are getting minus 122 implied odds for a 3-pick entry. So you should assume you're betting at minus 122. So did I go through this prize picks play? So the final play was, I think I did. So the final play was, yeah, I did go through this. Okay. So here were the, you can pause it if you want to see if any are still available. If any moved, don't comment on this video, yo, your lines moved. Look for 5 that are still available and bet them. Great lines don't last forever. You're day trading sports, right? Prize Picks has, between Prize Picks and Underdog, tons of good bets. You just got to go hunt and find them in the market. Lines are always moving. Weather changes, lines move. Lineups change, lines move. Lines are always moving. So what you can see here is most of these books, they only offer one-way markets, right, on Kirill to score. Like Barstool doesn't have odds on him not to score a goal. They're only offering odds on him to score a goal. That's called a one-way market. CoolBet is a two-way market, right? You can bet on him to score or not score. Barstool, you can't. But looking at CoolBet and where they have odds, plus 117, you can kind of assume all these sports books, who are giving you plus 120 on him to score, would probably have him not to score similar to CoolBet at like minus 160. And we're getting minus 122. Seems pretty good. So that is a play I went with on Underdog, as well as some like EV plays and plays from the screen. Hopefully you guys are able to get these down. Thomas Chabot under 2.5 shots on goal. Hardaway under 4 rebounds. Kirill to not score a goal. Let's make money. Let's make money. Let's make money. This is a good one.